My name is Tara Davenport, and I am a Senior Research Fellow at the Center for International Law. I am delighted to welcome speakers and participants to the 2021 International Law Year in Review Conference, organized by the Center for International Law. We have participants from more than 71 countries and jurisdictions, as well as an exciting lineup of distinguished international law experts who will share their thoughts on key developments in international law in 2020 and 2021. We will begin the conference with a few welcome remarks from the chairman of CIL's governing board and our director. It is my pleasure to introduce Prof Tomico to give the welcome remarks. Professor Ko is the chairman of NUS Center for International Law's governing board and ambassador at large at the Singapore Ministry of Foreign Affairs, among his many other important roles and responsibilities. He is a law of the sea and international environmental law scholar, and some of you will know he was a president of the 3rd UN Conference on the Law of the Sea and chair of the preparatory and main committees of the 1992 Earth Summit. He was Singapore's permanent representative to the UN for 13 years and has served as Singapore's ambassador to many countries, including the United States. In all honesty, he does not need any introduction, but without further ado, Prof. Ko.
Thank you, Tara. Your Excellencies, Judge Pek Jin Hyun, Professor Jayakumar, moderators, speakers, and participants. On behalf of the Center, I thank all of you participating in this seminar. We were unable to hold this flagship conference last year because of COVID-19. We had hoped to hold this conference in an in-person format, but travel restrictions made it not possible. We then considered holding it in a hybrid format, but even that was not possible. We therefore decided to go fully virtual. One advantage of holding this conference in a virtual format is that we are able to reach many more people and in many more countries. So as Tara said, we have over 400 participants and from over 70 countries. I would like to thank my good friend, Judge Pek Jin Hyun, for accepting our invitation to be the keynote speaker at this conference. Judge Pek has just stepped down as the very successful president of the International Tribunal for the Law of the Sea. He is also a member of the Center's International Advisory Panel, which is chaired by Professor Jayakumar. COVID-19 has caused the most serious pandemic of the last 50 years. It has brought death and destruction to the world. We at CIL decided to fight the virus by not closing shop. We were determined not to allow 2020 to become a lost year. Led ably by our director, Dr. Nilüfer Oral, the center had a very successful year in spite of the pandemic. Harnessing the power of technology, we were able to go online and hold many webinars, including a very important series on the impact of the pandemic on shipping, aviation, trade, human rights, and other aspects of international law. Dr. Oral and her International Law Commission colleague from Portugal, Professor Patricia Galvão Teres, also launched a very successful International Law Academy. It will be continued. One highlight of this conference is the launch at the end of the conference of a very important book on the law of the sea. The book, Reflections on the Making of the Modern Law of the Sea, is written by the late Satya Nandan and Christine Dalaka. The book contains many precious insights into the important negotiation chaired by Satya Nandan. With those remarks, I conclude my welcome, and I now have the pleasure of asking Nilüfer to say a few words to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Professor Ko. Your Excellencies, Judge Paik, Judge Chow Hik Tin, Professor Jayakumar, dear panelists and participants. It is my great pleasure and honor to join Professor Tomico in welcoming you to the 2021 CIL International Law Year in Review. While we were not able to host you in person, as was our original plan and hopes, we are delighted to have so many of you joining us from around the world. As Professor Ko remarked, thanks to the advantage of technology, over 400 participants have registered for this event. During the pandemic in 2020, the CIL maintained a very active agenda. We held over 37 webinars, and that does not include training courses on a broad range of international law topics, including the 8-part series on COVID-19 and international law that Professor Ko has just mentioned. Now, I thank him for his very kind work, but I must thank the very dedicated and extraordinarily energetic staff of the center who kept up the pace under challenging circumstances. I also thank so many colleagues, both in Singapore and beyond, who have supported us by being part of CIL webinars and training programs. Of course, CIL is guided by the collective wisdom of the governing board, chaired by Professor Ko, and the International Advisory Panel, chaired by Professor Jayakumar. One of the important roles CIL plays is to be a hub for bringing together scholars, practitioners, students, and other actors engaged in international law. Indeed, the International Law Year in Review can be seen as a culmination of this. This year's International Law Year in Review conference is an encapsulation of some of the key topics we covered in 2020 with colleagues and friends of CIL who are all recognized experts in their fields. I take this opportunity to thank each and every one of them. While we were not able to include all our valued colleagues and supporters today, I do thank those participants who accepted our invitation to speak. I also join Professor Ko in thanking Judge Paik for being with us today and giving the keynote speech. Without question, a highlight of this webinar is the launch of what is the last written legacy of a great diplomat and person, the late Ambassador Satya Nandan. In conclusion, I wish you all an excellent webinar and thank you for being with us today.